Hello and happy World Book Day! Today is a massive celebration of reading everywhere. I absolutely have the fondest memories of World Book Day from my days at school. We would get book fairs, we would dress up. There were many different things that people would dress up as. I went as a golden ticket one year from a Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory book. That was impressive. So many different dress ups. I remember my friend was the wardrobe once from The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, and she had like a cardboard thing around her that opened up. Impressive. I think the year I was a golden ticket I did end up winning a prize. It was like I had a billboard almost around me and my mum wrote out the whole information on the golden ticket. I think really World Book Day as a child is for the parents to just bust a gut over making amazing costumes, but oh my god, it was just so much fun. And now as an adult and as a creator within the bookish community, World Book Day has become an even bigger celebration for me, and it's something that I can just go nuts with and celebrate with all different types of content and just really enjoy the day and enjoy reading and just absorb all the joy that literature brings into our lives. So for today's video, I was thinking about how I could incorporate something fun with also recommendations and something that actually means something to me and my love of literature. So what I've crafted is I'm going to be spelling my name out with book titles, but I'm going to be spelling BooksNest because my full name is just ridiculously long and we just know we'd be here all day. So I'm going to be spelling my name out with book titles, but with a twist. Well, not really a twist, just the rules I set for myself. I had to have read the books that I'm spelling my name out with, and I kind of tried to pick books that meant something to me or had some kind of semblance of something within my reading life. Now, not every single one specifically really directly means something, but I've tried to make them have some kind of importance, and I have banned the word "the" as something starting with T, which, let me tell you, made picking the T book really difficult. So we're going to be spelling BooksNest, which starts with a B. For B, I have chosen Before I Die by Jenny Downham. Now, I've picked this because this one has been on my shelves ever since I read it when I was about 13, I think. This is an extremely moving novel. It is about a girl who is dying of cancer, and she has created a list of the things she would like to do before she dies. Now, I really remember feeling so obsessed with this book, so compelled by the story, and just I couldn't put it down because I needed to see what was going to happen and how it was going to end, I suppose, because you kind of know the route it's going down, but you just want to know if she achieves everything she wanted to achieve and if she was able to live the life she wanted to live. This is not the kind of book I now gravitate towards because I voluntarily don't pick books that are going to make me feel too sad, because I just don't want that around me at the moment. I don't avoid books with sadness in them, obviously, because you can't just outright do that, but books that are predominantly centered around a storyline like this don't pick me up at the moment, probably because we're in the middle of a lockdown and I just need joy and happiness as much as I can get it. So this one, yeah, I read when I was about 13. I specifically remember that this one had a really, I say really detailed. To me at that age, it felt detailed, but there was a sex scene of her losing her virginity, and I remember being really obsessed with that scene and reading it over and over again because it was like a page long, and I just had never read anything like that before, and I was just trying to get all the information I could, trying to understand how you used a condom and all these kind of things. So praise this book for doing that really well as well. This starts us off with B. Then we have O, for which I have chosen One by Sarah Crossan. This is told in verse. I read it in one sitting and I cried my eyes out. It's about two conjoined twins who obviously do everything together and share so much of their lives together, of course. And then the question is raised to them if there might be other options for them. And I don't want to say much more than that because I don't want to give away what this book is about, but I read this in one sitting, so it felt very intense because I was just absorbed completely in the world. I physically remember now physically sitting down and reading it in my bed in a different house, like a house 2 houses ago, 3 houses ago, sitting there reading this, just being totally enthralled by it and just bawling my eyes out because of how gripping it was and the way that Sarah Crossan presented the story through her use of prose. It's very cleverly done. The way that the plot is obviously going to be told through the writing, but the prose really add a different type of story to this plot because of the way we discover what's happening. It just was really good. So that's my O. Then I had another O, which was great challenge. So I went for One of Us Is Next by Karen M. McManus. The reason I went for this one is because, not because this is particularly poignant for me or I read this at a particularly special moment in my life, but I think that this was one of the books that I was reading when I discovered that I think I really was into YA thrillers. I read One of Us Is Lying in a day. I think I read that in one sitting. And then I think this was already out at that stage. So then I picked this one up and didn't read it quite as quickly, but I really preferred this one. I really liked One of Us Is Lying, but One of Us Is Next just had something to it that really pulled me in. And I think out of all Karen McManus's books, this one might be my favourite, I think. I enjoyed the fact that there was already establishment of characters, so we didn't have that building up. We already felt like we knew them, so we could go straight into the action and the thriller. But I've seen this one not get as much praise as One of Us Is Lying, so that's why I picked it for my O, because this one I don't often talk about, but as a YA thriller, and as part of Karen McManus's amazing work, I really enjoyed this one. Okay, next up we have got K, which was more of a struggle than I expected. I thought, oh, that's fine, I'll have loads of books with the word kingdom in the title. I think I had like 3. Kingdom of Ash, Kingdom of Souls, and Kingdom of the Wicked by Kate Maniscalco. The reason I picked this one is because I very much think of this one and think of when I was just moving into this flat, because this came in the Fairy Loot box in November, maybe November? I can't remember exactly which Fairy Loot box it was. That is stunning to start with, beautiful. But whichever box this came in, October, November, one of those ones, it came just as I was kind of getting settled into this flat, and I read this book. I had an arc of this book, so I was also reading it around that period too. I really enjoyed this one. It was very dark. It was something from Kerry Maniscalco that wasn't part of the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, which is all I've read from her, so it was really nice to read something else from her and see a different mystery involving 7 deadly sins and princes of hell, and I really liked that aspect of it. And also there was a lot of mention of good food in this. When I just moved out and was missing my mum's cooking, this gave me some kind of semblance of yummy food, although yeah, I wish I could just dive into the book and eat the food in this one. So this isn't like overly poignant, and it's not like an overly big book in my life, but I had to pick one with K, and this one I certainly associate with a certain time in my life versus the other ones beginning with K, so this one won the K battle. Then we have S, and I'm very glad that there are 2 S's because I could pick 2 of my favourite books which happen to both begin with S. So first up, The Shadow of the Wind. This is by Carlos Ruiz Zafón, and it is amazing. It is my favourite book. It's a book about books. It is about a young boy who is taken to this place called the Cemetery of Forgotten Books, where he is allowed to pick one book. So he picks that book, he adores it, and he really gets obsessed with who this author is and what else have they written and who are they and why is there this mystery surrounding this author. And as he grows up, he actually decides to go out and investigate this and get swept up in something a lot bigger. So good, so good. There is 4 books in this series, so there is a lot to get stuck into, but they kind of are more within the world and trace back through other characters that we see along the paths in this book. And I just love this. This is my original copy. This is the one that I first read. The other copies are not like this anymore. If anyone's looking at this thinking, what edition is this? This is just one of the original UK ones. This was my mum's. She loved it. It's one of her favourite books. Now it's one of my favourite books. And I just love it, and it's a no-brainer that this would be in books that mean something to me because this is my favourite book of all time. I have bought a copy to annotate of this, and I'm very excited because it's been a long time since I read it, and I just can't wait to just sit down and just scribble all over it and make notes and just think everything that I love about it and just write it down in some kind of cohesive thought and maybe do a video on it. I don't know. Is a video something you guys would like to see? Let me know if you would like that. I don't know if this is a book many people have read or if people want to read, but I absolutely love it. Okay, N destroyed me. Couldn't find an N. Could not find an N. So the book I've settled for isn't like, oh my god, this was really poignant, but it kind of opens some doors to me for some other books. So bear with me. It's Nick and Charlie by Alice Oseman. Now, the reason I'm putting this in here is because I read Heartstopper 1 when it came out years ago, and I thought it was okay, it was fine, but I never really bothered with the rest of the series. Then I think I was hitting my reading goal at the end of 2020 last year, and I needed a couple of shorter books, and this is absolutely tiny. It's a novella. I think it's just over 100 pages. So I picked this one up and then absolutely fell in love with Nick and Charlie and reread Heartstopper 1. Then I read Heartstopper 2, then I read Heartstopper 3, now I'm very excited for Heartstopper 4. And basically a love affair began with the Heartstopper books because of this book. So I absolutely adore the Heartstopper books and the world they create. I love so much about them. I love how open and honest they are and how raw they are. They're very wholesome and lovely, but they are also very real with things that are very real being experienced in school, such as going alongside coming out as the characters are coming out and being in relationships, and the LGBTQA plus community, and it's just, oh, there's so much, they're so good. But this one kind of started that off for me. So yeah, this is N. I think this one's actually after the Heartstopper books. So I read them in a weird order. I've also read This Winter as well, because that one is a really small novella as well, but really, really good books. Then for E, I also struggled. I decided on this one because I haven't talked about this one for a very long time. So I feel like the next two are like old booktube favourites from way back when. But these books are, well, this book is a contemporary, YA contemporary, that I read a long time ago and absolutely loved the atmosphere and the story. And it brought me into the idea of reading books about fandom. So that's why this one's in here. Again, it wasn't a particularly massively poignant one, but I just remember really loving it at the time, and I think now I would still really love it. And that is Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. This is one I read a very long time ago, so I'm probably a little bit rusty on the plot, but it's a YA contemporary about a girl who has created a really successful webcomic online, and then the #1 fanfiction writer for that webcomic joins her school, and stuff happens. I loved this because it really got me into fandom reading, and then I read things like The Princess and The Fangirl, I forgot what the name of it was then, and Geekarella and things like that, and I just really loved the idea of bringing in fandoms into books. And I also loved the idea of following her create this webcomic, because that just felt so unique for me to read about, and I don't think I have read anything like that since either. And I think like verging on something like Radio Silence, where there is that kind of idea of a podcast in that. So the idea of someone creating something and there being a real cult following behind it, I just loved reading about it, and actually wanting to reread this one now that I'm thinking about it. Also, I will always love the cover of this, the crossover between the illustration and a real photo. But this one is my E, because I haven't spoken about it for a very, very, very long time, and I thought it deserves some love. Then we have S again. We return to S. This was a no-brainer as well. Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I love this book so much. This is one of my favourite series of all time. I want to reread it. It follows Larso Strange, who has always kind of known that there's something else out there in this world called Weep, or this land called Weep, which everyone else says doesn't exist and that it's not a real place. And he is invited on an expedition to go and find it, because he is like the reigning scholar expert. He goes, stuff happens. At the same time, we're also meeting these girls who are living there with these abilities, godlike abilities, and we see the kind of cross between those two characters. And I just love it. I love Laszlo Strange so much. What a fantastic name for a character, Laszlo Strange. That is just excellent. I adore the fact that this is literally about a guy who just dreamed something so badly and then it happened. I love that concept, and I also love the idea that the godlike magic is also within this, and the kind of threats that that poses, but also the ways that we see Laszlo interacting with that kind of experience when it's something he's only ever dreamed up in his brain, and now he's actually seeing it all. So I love this so much. I really love this series. It's whimsical, it's beautiful, it got me into Laini Taylor's writing. She is spectacularly creative, and I just love seeing the worlds she shapes. This one just absolutely blew me away. It blew me away. I absolutely love it. Can I say absolutely any more times? Absolutely. Lastly, for T, which I found really difficult because I banned the. I thought about putting the Two Towers in this, because obviously there is a the, but it's Two Towers. But that one specifically of the Lord of the Rings books wasn't like the top one for me of the Lord of the Rings books, so I feel like if I was going to pick a Lord of the Rings book, I would have to pick, I think I probably enjoyed The Fellowship of the Ring the best. But anyway, I struggled. There was a lot of books I wanted to pick with the in them, a lot. But in the end, I decided to go for Tilly and the Book Wanderers, Pages & Co. by Anna James. This is a middle grade. It's the only middle grade on this list, and it's one of the only middle grades I've read, I suppose. I've read a couple of middle grades, maybe like a handful, but this is one of these series I will keep going back to and just reading more and more because I absolutely love it. Tilly is a young girl who can walk into the pages of books. She can book wander, which is so magical. What a cool concept. I love books about books, but I specifically love books about books that feature books we know rather than fictional books, if that makes sense. So I prefer a book about books in which the books are books we are familiar with, such as Alice in Wonderland, Anne of the Green Gables, which are the two people on the cover of this book, versus like books that have been made up for the purpose of that book, which is more what The Shadow of the Wind does. Still love both, but I just love that I get to have a little fangirl moment over knowing who the characters are that they're talking about in this book. So yeah, I love this series so much. There's 3 out at the moment. I hope there's going to be more. I love seeing the adventures Tilly gets herself in, and I wish I would have had this as a child to be able to read. I love it as an adult, but there's something so magical about it. I can't wait for my sister to be interested in this series because I think she's just a little tiny bit below the age for it at the moment. But she's getting there, so when she is able to, I will be throwing this at her because I think she'll really love it. There's just something so magical. Also, her grandparents own a bookshop and they basically live in the bookshop. The dream. So those are all my books for World Book Day celebrations. I'm so excited today. I just love it. It just makes me feel happy. World Book Day brings me joy. I always feel like there comes with an immense pressure to be able to create really good bookish content on World Book Day, but we can make every day World Book Day. I hope you guys are enjoying World Book Day. I hope that you've read lots. I hope that you've enjoyed watching lots of cool content. I hope you've enjoyed the background noise. There's apparently some construction going on outside my flat at the moment. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know your bookish memories down below, what you'll be reading for World Book Day, what you've already read for World Book Day, or your best dress-up costumes for World Book Day. I'm definitely claiming the golden ticket as my best dress-up. I had Wonka bars tied in my hair, like the rappers. I don't know if they still do Wonka bars, but there was a time when they produced them when I was about 9 or 10 and I had them tied in my hair and it was the best thing ever. So yeah, that. Comment, do those things, and if you want to see more of my face on your feed, you can subscribe. Also, I have a Patreon now, if that would be anything you're interested in. There is details down below, but basically you can join a little family. We're very, very positive and friendly. There's positive dedicated channels within a Discord chat. There's a book club, there's live shows, there's social media audits from a professional social media expert. It's me. There's all sorts. It's really lovely. It's such a lovely little family that brings me immense joy and just even furthers my love of books. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Keep smiling and stay positive.